Morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Royyan Yustio. Today, I will present about Oshima book, third edition, page 177. Let's begin. Stringy sentences are sentences with too many independent clauses. Stringy. My family left our homeland and we live. Stringy sentences are sentences with too many independent clauses. Stringy. My family left our homeland, and we lived in a refugee camp for several months. But finally, we got our document. So we traveled to Canada. Stringy, sen- stringy, stringy sentences are sentences with two. Stringy sentences are sentences with too many independent clauses. Stringy. My family left our homeland, and we lived in a refugee camp for. Stringy sentences are sentences with too many independent clauses. Stringy. My family left our homeland, and we lived in a refugee camp for several months. But finally, we got our documents. So we traveled to Canada, and we live there now. Corrected. After my family left our homeland, we lived in a refugee camp for several months. As soon as we got our documents, we traveled to Canada, where we live now. Editing, prac- editing practice. Edit the following paragraph for errors in parallel structure and other sentence problems. Identify the problem sentences and correct them. Now, not every sentence has a problem. So this is the text that you can learn by yourself about America melting pot or salad bowl. The United States counts its population every 10 years, and its census reveals that the racial and ethnic mix is changing dramatically. So by the year 2050, the average American will not be descended from Europeans, but the majority of U.S. residents will trace their ancestry to Africa, Asia, the Hispanic world, the Pacific Island, or the Middle East. And the next sentences you can read by yourself, and then you can edit to be parallel structure. And the next is page 178. So the next is page 178. In chapter 11, we talk about noun clauses. 10, 11, 12. So the next is page 178. In this chapter, we will discuss about noun clauses. Introduction. A noun clause is a dependent clause that functions as a noun. It can be a subject. Introduction. A noun clause is a dependent clause that functions as a noun. It can be a subject, Introduction. A noun clause is a definite clause that functions as a noun. It can be a subject, object, or subject complement. However, in this chapter, you will study the noun clause only as it is used as an object. Because a noun clause is dependent, it must be connected to an independent clause to form a complex sentence. A noun clause used as an object is preceded by an independent clause called an introductory clause. The noun clause is the object of the introductory clause verb, which is often a verb of speaking, say, tell, report, or mental activity, know, believe, wonder. And the next is page 179. Introductory clause. Subject is I. Verb, no. The noun clause. Object, that people have different opinions about capital punishment. So the sentence is I know that people have different opinions about capital punishment. Introduction. There are three types of noun clauses. First, that clauses are made from statements and are introduced by the subordinator that. The built-in state that science courses require a laboratory introduction. There are three introduction. There are three introduction. There are three types of noun clauses. The first, that clauses, are made from statements and are introduced by the subordinator that. The built-in state that science courses require a laboratory period. It also points out that lab attendance is mandatory. Mandatory means required. And the next is WH word clauses are formed from WH questions and are introduced by WH words such as who, whoever, what, whatever, where, wherever, when, which, how much, how many, and the other. Like I don't know where the student cafeteria is. The professor explained how shockwaves are formed. Do you know which answer is correct? And the last is if or whether clauses are formed from yes or no questions and are introduced by the subordinate whether or if. The praise are not may be added. I don't know whether or not I should take computer science or not. An engineer determines if the measurements are correct or not. The punctuation as of the, punctu, the punctuation of sentences with noun clauses is easy. No comma is used to separate the introductory clause from the noun clause. The introductory clause, which may be a statement or a question, determines the end of sentence punctuation. If the introductory clause is a question, use a question mark at the end of the sentence. If the introductory clause is a statement, use a period. Do you know when he called? I don't know when he called. And the next is page 180. Sequence of tense. The verb in the introductory clause controls the tense of the verb in the noun clause. If the introductory clause verb is simple present, present perfect, or future, the verb in the noun clause is in whatever the tense expresses the meaning that the introductory clause intends. The prime ministers agree that global warming is a serious world problem. They hope that all nations will be responsible for solving this serious problem. Scientists believe that atmospheric warming has already begun. Measurements have indicated that the average temperature of the Earth has risen in the past 100 years. Further research will prove that carbon dioxide is largely responsible. Global warming means rising temperature of the Earth. However, when the verb in the introductory clause is in the past tense, the verb in the dependent clause is usually in a past form. The Prime Minister agreed that global warming was a serious world problem. They hoped that all nations will be responsible for solving this problem. Scientists believed that atmospheric warming had already begun. Measurements indicated that the average temperature of the Earth had risen in the past 100 years. Further research proved that carbon dioxide was largely responsible. Exception. The verb in the dependent clause is in the present tense when it reports a general truth. We know that food cooks more slowly at high elevations. That clauses. That clauses are made from statements and are introduced by the subordinate that. The word that is often omitted if the meaning is clear without it. A that clause is composed of that plus subject plus verb plus complement. That the language center of the brain differs in each person, that different aspects of language, such as nouns and verbs, are processed in different areas of the brain. Here are examples of complex sentences containing an independent introductory clause and a dependent that clause. Page 181. Introductory clause, that clause. I think that the study of the brain is fascinating. The professor explains that the brain is the master control for both mind and body. The following verbs are used in introductory clauses, followed by the clauses. They are grouped according to whether or not they may take an indirect object. And this is the introductory clause verbs. In a group 1, no indirect object. In a group 2, indirect object optional to require with indirect object. Group 3, indirect object required. And group 4, indirect object optional. This is the example of the introductory clause verbs. Agree, answer, assert, conclude is included in group 1. And you can say it by yourself. The verbs in group 1 do not take an indirect object. Like for the example, we know that women have higher verbal IQs than men. The verbs in group 2 may or may not take an indirect object. However, if an indirect object is used to mass present it. The defense attorney proved to the jury that his client was not guilty. The verbs in group 3 must be followed by an indirect object. The doctor assured the worried parents that their child would recover. The verbs in group 4 may or may not be followed by an indirect object. He promised them that they could see their child immediately after the operation. For the note, in academic writing, especially in scientific writing, introductory clause verbs are often written in passive voice with a neutral subject. It was agreed or stated that, or it has been asserted or proven that. The next is page 182. Practice 1 is about that clauses. Complete the introductory clauses in the following sentences by adding a verb from the table and the subordinate of that. Use a different verb in each sentence and use passive voice verbs in sentences 4, 5, and 6. For the examples, researchers know that men's and women's brains are different. It has been proven that men's and women's brains are different. And experts agree that women learn languages more easily than men do. Number two, they've proven that a certain area of the brain controls language. Number three, a recent study shows that women have more brain cells in the language area than men do. In the report, it is pointed out that women are not more intelligent than men just because they have more cells in the brain's language area. It is known that men and women have different abilities in involving spatial tasks. For example, men can read maps more easily, but women can remember the location of objects better. It is asserted that men are, in general, better at math and reasoning than women. And this is the B part. And this is the B part of practice 1. Write 6 original sentences containing that clauses. Use a different introductory clause verbs in each other sentence. And this is the B part of practice 1. Write 6 original sentences containing that clauses. Use a different introductory clause verb in each sentences. And this is the B part and this is the B part of practice 1. Write 6 original sentences containing that clause. Use a different introductory clause verb in each sentence and remember the sequence of tense rules. And this is the example for the answer. She said that she was tired after finishing her homework. Introductory verb said is past. That clause past continuous. And the next, I think that this project will help many people. Introductory verb think is present. That clause future. They believed that the teacher had already checked their essay. They believed that the teacher had already checked their essays. Introductory verb believe is past. That clause past perfect. He knows that His friends are waiting for him outside. Introductory verb nouns is present. That clause present continuous. We hope that our parents will be proud of us. Introductory verb is hoped is past, and that clause is would plus best verb. And last, the manager suggested that the team should start the meeting earlier. Introductory verb suggested is past. That clause model should for polite suggestion. Subjunctive noun clauses. After certain verbs and adjectives in an introductory clause, the verb in a that clause is in the simple order best form, called the subjunctive. These verbs and adjectives indicate urgency, advisability, necessity, and desirability. The verbs and adjectives requiring the subjunctive form in the that clause include verbs: advise, ask, command, demands, direct, and the other adjectives: advisable, important, essential, urgent, necessary, vital. For the example, the company president urged that the marketing department be more aggressive. She insisted that the company not lose any more customers to its competitors. It is necessary that its salesperson work longer hours. The subjunctive also occurs when the introductory clause verb is in passive voice. It was recommended that the department not hire new staff at this time. And the next is page 183. And the next is page 183. And the next is page 183. Practice 2 is about practice 2 is about subjunctive noun clauses. Background information. A 3-year drought has caused a serious water shortage in the fictitious. Fictitious is meant. Practice 2 is about subjunctive cla- practice 2 is about subjunctive noun clauses. Background information. A 3-year drought has caused a serious water shortage in the fictitious means not real country of Sunnyland. As a result, Sunnyland's government is proposing restriction on water use. Write complex sentence containing the sub write complex sentence containing subjunctive noun clauses. Step 1. Rewrite re, write complex sentence sus, write complex sentences containing subjunctive noun clauses. Step 1. Rewrite the question in each item as an introductory clause. Step 2. Rewrite the statement as a subjunctive noun clause. Step 3. Combine the two clauses to make a new sentence. Example: what did the government order? Citizens must decrease their water use. They should not waste water. The government ordered that citizens decrease their water use and that they not waste water. Number 1. What did the government demand? Its family must reduce its water use by 40%. The government demanded that each family reduce its water by 40%. What is necessary? All citizens must comply with the new restrictions. It is necessary that all citizens comply with the new restrictions. What did the government propose for city dwellers? Everyone must take 5 minute showers. The government proposed that city dwellers take 5 minute showers. What is advisable? People should conserve water whenever possible. It is advisable that people conserve water whenever possible. What has been demanded of farmers? Farmers should cut their water use by 25%. It has been demanded that farmers cut their water use by 25%. What was suggested? Every farmer should install a drip irrigation system. It was suggested that every farmer install a drip irrigation system. What did the government urge? People must not use water to wash cars, sidewalks, or streets. In the answer, the government urged that people not use water to wash cars, sidewalks, or streets. Comply with means obey. And the last is page 184. This is a practice. Write six original sentences with subjunctive noun clauses using a different verb or adjective in the introductory clause in each sentence. And this is the example answer. The teacher suggests that each student submit the assignment on time. Introductory verb is suggested. Subjunctive form submit without S. It is important that everyone be present at the meeting. Introductory adjective important. Subjunctive verb be. She recommended that he study harder for the final exam. Introductory verb recommended. Subjunctive verb study. The doctor insists that the patient stay in bed for 2 days. Introductory verb insisted. Subjunctive verb stay. It is necessary that the report be finished before Friday. Introductory adjective necessary. Subjunctive verb be finished. Our boss demanded that we arrive earlier tomorrow. Introductory verb demanded. Subjunctive verb arrive. And the next is WH word clauses. A W word clause is a dependent noun clause in which the subordinator is the WH word such as who, what, where, when, why, how much, how long, which, and the other. A WH word clause is composed of either WH word plus subject plus verb plus complement. Who the president of South Africa is. How many citizens voted in the last election? Or when the WH word and the subject of the clause are the same word, WH word plus verb plus complement. Who made the error? What happened at the student body meeting? The word order in these clauses sometimes causes problems for the learners of English as a second language. It may seem strange not to follow words such as who and when with a verb. However, just remember that the word order in noun clause is like a statement, not like a question. Study the word order in WH question on the left side of the chart on page 184 and the WH word clauses on the right. Notice that WH word clauses always use normal SV statement word order. Also, since they are not questions, the helping verbs do, does, and did disappear.